All right, we are recording. Mic is hot, and I will call to order the Sun River Service District Managing Board meeting for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. As usual, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand under the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, at this time we have public input. Is there any public input in the room? Seeing none, is there any public input online? Seeing none, I do have one piece of public input to read into the record. This was actually sent to the Sun River Owners Association Board, and they forwarded it over because it was actually SSD business. It is from Tom Kelly at 7 Forest Lane. I will read, here, I'll go here, basically from his question and inquiry. Dear SROA Board, or in this case SSD Board, I recall that Sun River began employing cameras to monitor those entering Sun River for security purposes. I call your attention to an article, and he references an article from the Bend Bulletin, perhaps about their decision on flock cameras. And he continues, perhaps under the current extreme circumstances, we might reconsider this in order to safeguard the privacy and safety of our residents and those who work here in Sun River and might fall victim to the excesses of ice drag nets. I look forward to your reply, Tom Kelly. And again, it references a Ben Bulletin article. He did request feedback, and so we'll find a way to reach out to him. I'll talk with Chief Razik. And we'll find a way to reach out. Now. Roll call. Okay, good point. I will do a roll call. Keep me honest. All right. Director Zook.
Not here.
Yeah. Director Shoemaker.
Here.
Director Kelly. Here. I see ex officio Schneider is here. Chair is present. Jill Stevens is a few minutes late.
She's running, or she'll be via Teams.
Okay. We will acknowledge for the record when she does join. We've already done our public input, and so we will move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is 3 items. That is our November 20th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes, our December 16th, 2025 joint SSD Deschutes County meeting minutes, and our December 18th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
The last 2 that were lagging, there's copies at your location too, if people would like to take time to review.
I had a chance, so did everybody else get a chance? All right. If so, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Go
this way.
Second.
All right, Director Shoemaker, motion, Director Zook seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. Director Zook?
Yes.
Director Shoemaker?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion passes. We are on to old business. Item number 2 is an update on the public safety building construction. That comes to me. We have not had any significant changes since the December meeting. There are still a couple of outstanding items, notably the out bay exhaust system and the security lock on the police side. We did get approval from Sun River on some minor stain and paint changes, and we are waiting for some favorable weather so that we can paint. That's where we are on public safety building construction. Are there any questions or anything else to report?
The other thing, Tuesday, the concrete grinders are going to come here and grind down the decon room. That'll happen on Tuesday, and then they'll do epoxy after that. They're also then on either Wednesday or Thursday, they're going to grind down the hose room. So we're going to have to pull all of our hose stuff out of there for the day while they do that. So they put a drain in the hose room, but per spec, it wasn't supposed to be floated to the drain. I don't know why you'd put a drain in something and not have it flow to the drain, but anyways, that's the way it was set up. So And yep, so we got those, and then Nick is almost, we have 3 more rigs, and then we're done with the transponders and inside the vehicles, and then we'll get a hold of Kirby, and then they'll come and hook everything up, and then the exhaust system should be set up like it was prior to construction, so.
I think if I recall an email, they were talking about they should be able to get final commissioning on that system sometime early February.
Yeah, we're just waiting on Nick to finish up. So,
I'm sure it's kind of cold in there, so hopefully that, with the fans running, so hopefully that gets done soon.
I think we're getting used to it.
All right, any additional questions or comments on, say, building construction? All right, if not, status of the SSD reserve study, I believe we still are waiting for some numbers, but I saw that Doug wants to get with you and make sure you've got all the info you need.
Yes, and I've responded. Still waiting on the
Okay.
numbers.
Cool, hopefully we can wrap that up soon. Any questions on that? All right, item number 4, update on SRA rules and regulations. This would normally be Chief Rassick, but he's not present today, so he and I did have a conversation. Essentially, still nothing to report. We're still negotiating with SROA on how to put that together. I think the SROA is probably doing some internal discussions as well. We'll get it solved at some point, but it's still outstanding. I don't know if you had any update on the SROA side. I know.
I know that the chief and James have been going back and forth over
Yes. We're all having fun.
keeping you and I out of the loop.
Yeah. I'm fine being out of the loop some days. Any questions on that? We are flying. Item number 5, discussion and vote on approval of an SSD insurance buyout for eligible employees. That the letter, the proposed letter is in your packet under old business. I'll turn it over to Administrator Holliday to give us a report and update on what's going on.
Thank you, Chair. So last month, we discussed the one-time voluntary separation offer that was floated for district employees, all employees in good standing. And so basically, we discussed it last month, and then for best practices, this gave the public an opportunity to come to the meeting and provide feedback, and then you vote on whether or not you approve for the separation offer, and then the following letter would be going out to all staff tomorrow per approval. But basically, the participation's at the discretion of the employee. Any voluntary separation by the employee must happen on or before September 30th, 2026. And employees who voluntarily separate will receive 1 month of district approved or provided healthcare coverage for each full year of service. And it's measured on the start date of each respective department, which is listed. The fire department in 1968 and the police department in 1969. And then any service parts or calculations that are 0.51 months or equal to 1.51 months will be counted as a full amount for payout services. So the employee has until February 27th to let me know if they are wanting to pursue this. And then as of that date, the offer expires. And as an added note, we set this through renewal and it's been vetted and very similar to other offers the county and I think the city of Bend have provided.
Right.
You know what time she entered the meeting, Rachel?
What time is it? I'm sorry.
1:09.
Okay.
Waiting to admit her. There we go.
She is. Okay.
Hello,
Welcome, Director Stevens. How are you?
great, sorry for being late.
Oh, you're fine. So the record shows at 1:09, Director Stevens joined. And Jill, we are on item 5. We're discussing the approval of the insurance buyout for eligible employees.
Great, thank you.
We flew through all the rest. So questions to Administrator Holliday on the letter, the contents, or questions in general on the plan? We discussed this at least for a fair amount of time last month.
I got a question about the timeline.
It's over a month. I
A
mean,
big decision. I'm just wondering if,
that was just what was floated. It's about 6 weeks.
Yeah, typically, I mean, at least in my experience, in the private sector, when this is done, it's anywhere from, in fact, there was one that, I was offered that was, we had 2 weeks to decide. I think it's been talked about a little bit. I mean, realistically, we started talking about it last month in public session, so everybody's aware of what's going on. If we do vote this in, I think having an extra 6 weeks gives everybody the time that they would need to determine whether they would want to take it or not.
okay, yeah, I was just curious.
I mean, but if the board would like that changed, I'm happy to do so.
I'm pretty good with where it is. All right, any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve chair's signature on the letter and the issuance of the letter to all employees.
I'll move.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Zook,
Yes.
Director Shoemaker,
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion passes. I will sign that before I leave today. All right, we are on to new business. Here we are. In the monthly round robin of who gets to go first. Oh, we're picking on the new lieutenant. First of all, congratulations, Lieutenant Van Meter. Thank you. I think well, no, I guess you haven't been an officer here, but otherwise you've held every other position.
Yeah. I'm just grateful to be here, so whatever you need me to do. If you want me to clean the halls, that's what I do.
Well, then a couple other things for you, and you can take those too. But I will hand it over to you for our monthly police report.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, directors. Thank you, staff. First off, I just wanted to say I appreciate the districts allowing me the opportunity to attend the National Academy in Quantico for 3 months. I know that's a lift on a small agency, but it was a life-changing experience, and I got some of the best training I've received over the past 28 years of military and law enforcement training. So it was time well spent for me, and I know it was a sacrifice for the district, but I appreciate and I acknowledge you letting me do that. As far as our calls for service, going back into December, the calls for service are slightly up. Self-initiated activity is up from December 2024. Says it should be 2025. So we do have Chris is back. I'm back. Stephanie's back from injury leave. So we have 3 more officers that are starting to generate stats. So traffic stops are up. The traffic has been not as bad here in the area because there's been not a lot of skiers, and that generates a lot of activity for us as well with traffic stops and crashes. So the lack of snow also has some impact as we are a ski community. Self-initiated, 2 of the 19 investigations were outside of Sun River. 15 total calls generated in Caldera and Crosswater. SPD officers responded to 4 and DCSO responded to 11. Of those responded to by Sun River PD, 2 were traffic and 2 were citizen contacts. Our Citizens Patrol, grateful for them. They've been busy. 22 patrol hours, 25 house checks, 99 total community service hours. Administrative highlights that the chief wanted me to go over. Contract negotiations, as you briefed, Chair, are still continuing with Director Lewis. Contract negotiations with the Sun River Police Officers Association for the collective bargaining agreement. Tentative agreement has been, the tentative agreement on the language for the CBA have been reached, and there are fiscal proposals on the chief's desk that they are actively and within a close frame of agreeing upon once the chief gets back from OACP. I got promoted to lieutenant. Thank you very much. Provisional offer made to a sergeant applicant. We will start him in backgrounds ASAP, and then we are starting entry-level officer recruiting, and that's been ongoing as we start to go to different schools. We're always looking for somebody to come to Sun River and be a part of this team. And I graduated from the FBI Academy, had a great time there, hanging out with the feds, some absolutely amazing training. December 3rd, we did Shop with a Cop. December 14th, Wonderland Express. I worked Christmas and New Year's and not much happened. Had some disturbances in front of the VBAG, but really low key as far as here on Sun River proper.
Always good.
Yes. Any of your questions, that's all I have.
Right. Do we have any questions for Lieutenant Van Meter?
Anecdotally, have you been getting any calls or pushback about the flock cameras?
There's been discussion about the flock cameras,
Discussion internally or externally calls?
both. Yes, a lot of internal discussion, so we can talk intelligently about our flock systems and what we what we don't use it for and what we don't do with it. The importance of the things that we do use it for. For example, to highlight how we use it here in Sun River is I got a call of a missing person, elderly gentleman in his 80s that had cognitive decline. Family reported that the car was missing from the driveway and he was the only one that had access to the keys. I was able to go to the flock camera and confirm with the family that he in fact had not left Sun River because I could see his license plate had he. So that immediately put them at ease, and they're thinking the worst as they would with the family member that shouldn't be driving, that's out driving. But I told them he's probably simply lost in the roundabouts like I've been here, so that's not really an issue. And so he was found a short time later because we're also really good at finding people who are lost. But the cameras were able to confirm with the family that he's here, don't know where he's at, but he's not out there.
Actually had, so there was the, what do you want to call it? The mass email campaign, that had been going
The
on.
spam mail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those appear to have, died off, at least in my, yeah, at least in mine. So
I've only gotten 10 in the last 2 weeks.
yeah, so I think most of that has fallen off, and you know, anecdotally, I actually had I was talking to a neighbor who was talking about a family issue that he had, and where Sun River PD confirmed the whereabouts of his family member using the flock system. So, I mean, it's been very useful for us. I know just in terms of community policing and you know, and I know it's also been used in regular policing as well. We have a good set of controls on it, and you know.
Yeah, electronically, we have excellent controls that really mitigate any of the concerns that have been raised on both the national scale and the local scale. So it doesn't apply to us.
It seems like that the good should be shared with the community.
Yeah.
Because all they're getting is the negative national press.
Well, I can say that, is the people know about my background and sit on the board. They've come to me a couple of times and they've only expressed good things.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
I haven't heard any complaints, you know, like, hey, what is going on?
I'm just looking at what comes in with all these mass emails and, you know, and what's going on across the US and how all these people are railing against it. Well, there's some good out of this too. So as long as people are understanding that.
It's all how it's administered, and I don't have any issues with the way it's been administered in this instance.
Yeah,
I think we've only gotten 2 community emails.
I was gonna say, we have the one community email that I read,
And then one that chief responded to just this week.
and chief responded to one that didn't to be read into the record. So, I mean, realistically, I think we are aware that there's concerns, and we'll continue to address the concerns. But, you know, I think as the board, we continue to believe that this is money, and it's not even a lot of money, but it's money well spent for the community.
When, I know from talking with the chief a couple days ago that he's got some plans about how it's going to maneuver with the block system. And after those moves are made, you know, it'd be good to put something out about, you know, exactly how we're using it.
Okay.
So,
Might be something for her to put in the scene.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we're not there yet.
No, at some point, no.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We know how to write articles. Sometimes we even get them in on time.
Usually do pretty good.
Yeah.
Usually do pretty good.
Yeah. In comparison, in comparison to some others, for sure. Some of which in other positions at this table. All right, if there are no other questions for Lieutenant Van Meter, I will pass over to Administrator Holliday for our administrative report.
Thank you, Chair. So financially, working on developing the fiscal year 27 budget. working with both chiefs on that. I think they're working with their staff as well as mine. Was in a meeting, received the Zoom link for a meeting to watch the recording of our health insurance, and that one might be a significant increase. So so just know that we might be juggling some things when that comes through for cost. But we've gotten good news from PERS. And so the minimal increase is all that we're going to have with PERS. So that's good news. And yeah, so just working through the budget. I submitted the fiscal year 25 audit to the state. So that's done and completed. Let's see, we'll be discussing this later, but research on the use of funds within the 717 account. So we can discuss that in another agenda item. Also, it has come to my attention that for tier 1 and tier 2 employees of PERS, which we only have a handful, there's a sell back program through PERS that they can sell back their hours, a portion of those hours, and it gets added to their income for that year. And then PERS takes, your highest income years. And so it's a great advantage. So it's come to my attention that the district does not participate in that. I've done some research. There's more research I'd like to do before I bring it to the board, which I'll probably be doing next month. But at this point, I don't see any cost issues with doing that. I don't see it being any impact to the district, but I just want to verify that in a few more spots before I bring it to the board for approval. But it was just one of those things that for some reason, way back when, the district chose not to be a part of that program. So, so I'm researching more information on that. Let's see. There's also quite a bit of former employees whose data has been incorrectly reported historically to PERS prior to my tenure. And so I'm working with PERS on doing that and also encouraging all employees to put in data verification requests with PERS. Even if you worked here or not, you should be verifying your PERS and making sure payroll has submitted everything for the last however many years correctly, as due diligence on the employee side. And I think PERS is getting very overwhelmed with employees doing that. So it's important that employees really look at deadlines and such, because they're starting to even close the window of when you could do that and how many weeks you have to say there's an issue, just because they're getting bogged down. But yes, sir.
Quick question on that before we move on to the next one. But in regards to that, was there any official memo sent out to employees to go in and ask that they do this because there's been an issue?
Not yet. So when I found out about this issue, I asked PERS, it's one of 2 or 3 other issues I've been finding out about, that, what's, there's a lot of people that have worked here and left.
Yeah.
And their stance is that agencies should focus on changing current employees and move forward. But I've been asking employees to spread the word. A lot of them know other employees that worked here during that time.
Well, I'm talking about more a memo official to current employees.
Yeah, I can do that. That's a great idea.
Just that it'd be the CYA guy, but.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because it is, and it's an intricate system.
Right.
And so you're trusting over the course of your whole career that the payroll person.
We don't want to
Correct.
be said that we didn't properly inform them.
Yeah.
sometime down the-
Sure.
True.
Thank you. Yeah. So, so I've had a couple of those come in, and so they were able to provide documentation to show that the payroll was incorrectly submitted to PERS, and a couple of them, it added 2 years of service.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. However, with that being said, then that means from those 2 years of service, so 2007 to 2009, let's say, we didn't pay the employer portion of PERS for that service, for those dollars. And so we will start to be getting invoiced for that, because at that time they weren't qualified into PERS. So, so just know there might be some budgetary impacts and to the future, but it's up to the employees to initiate that. So, but it's important to make right any wrongs and that they're getting the correct benefit for their service.
Good.
Let's see, just ongoing cash management. Let's see, HR, our FSA benefit, the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association, which we're part of that group plan. They moved from Pacific Source to PNC for the FSA program for the flexible spending account. There's been a few little hiccups, but I think we're getting there through that transition with employees. So just working with them. Worked on the data and information for the buyout that we just voted on. Also, working with the admin staff on providing employees that were here 2025 with all of their overtime information for the one big beautiful bill. There's an overtime federal potential exemption for certain amount of funds. There is not firm guidance yet on what that is and what it means. So I just decided that it would be best to just give the employees all that data, and then they can work with their tax preparer on information or getting that in. And so more to come on that. But hopefully this year we can figure that out and then not just be something that's added to their W-2s for 2026. Let's see. Met with Deschutes County HR on Equal Pay Act requirements. So I'll be starting that and have more information to come in a future board meeting just to make sure it's an every 3-year requirement from the state. So basically it's not a market analysis of pay. It's just making sure that if this person with this amount of education experience got hired at this step, did other people in the same situation get hired with the same step and benefits? So I'll be doing that. And then just to sum up, some nominating committee promotion and working on some information for the potential expansion into Crosswater and Caldera for police services only. And then sent to Susan a scene story about Lieutenant Van Meter being at the FBI Academy and completing that, as well as being our new lieutenant. So with a photo. So that was very nice for her to make room for that. And then saving the best for last is the onboarding of Rachel Pop, my new assistant. It's great to have Rachel here, and she's just hit the ground running and doing a great job. Any questions?
Reminded me what we're assuming for property tax collection increases at 3.2.
I haven't gotten the guidance yet from the county. Usually it comes here in a week or two.
I thought we already had it.
Not for the fiscal 27 year budget yet. But usually it's 3.2. So hopefully it's 3.2 this year.
I will hear officially tomorrow, but the county is 4.6, 4.7.
Good for them.
Well, down from 6.2 only a couple of years ago. So it's every time they go, how are we going to do 4.6? My general response is, hey, try 3.2 sometime.
But I have a meeting with CFO Tintle the week after next to go over that, as well as some PERS investment opportunities and other items. So I'll have more to report in February.
But we are seeing a general squeeze. So the fact that we've, I'll give the district kudos, and I'll especially give all of you who have worked on district budgets in the past kudos. We have done a lot with the little that we get, and let's continue to be diligent on that. We can be an example rather than a warning. Any additional questions for Administrator Holliday? If not, I will turn it over to Fire Chief Booth for our fire report.
Thank you, Chair and board members. We'll look at the dashboards first. You've got two of them, one for December and the other one for the annual or yearly call volume and various other stuff for the year. In December, calls were up compared to last year, 43 compared to 33. If you look at fire responses, which is really odd, there's no fire responses in December of last year or this year. So mainly all EMS calls that were in there. So that I found really intriguing. And then also, if you go down on the December and look at mutual aid given, we did give 9 times. We went down to Lapine with 0 mutual aid received. So we're able to cover our calls, which is pretty outstanding. So we weren't leaning on our folks from the north. We're able to cover all of that. which is great. On the annual or on the yearly, ran at about the same amount of calls as we did last year. Turnout times were down. We were able to get out of the stations quicker, which is great. Mutual aid given, we were down in 2025, and then received, we were also down, which is good. Total training hours for the year, we were up in 2025. And then if you look at ambulance billing in 2024, we billed out about 380,000, and in 2025, 445,000. So we billed out quite a bit more money. And I think a lot of that has to do with us increasing our cost for our ALS response. So, I mean, our average, our true cost on an ALS response is about $7,000, and we charge $2,000. So, and the reason is because people pay taxes and there's all of that stuff. So, I mean, we're about average for Central Oregon when it comes to ambulance billing, but it's just one of those things. Your property taxes really pay for your fire response and everything. And, but just with the ambulance costs and everything else going up and reimbursement from the federal government and all the other things that go along with that, it's tough. So but we keep clicking away there. Any questions on either of the dashboards?
So from the aid given, aid received, I mean, you know, aid received is our ability to cover our own calls. Aid given is really that of our neighbors to be able to cover their own calls as well. Are you seeing a general trend in their discipline there, or?
You can ask the guys. I mean, they're here. I mean, I think Lapine is getting busier and they're not increasing their staffing. You know, I mean, they need to be able to increase their staffing, and I think that their financial situation hampers that. So I think they are going out for a levy. I don't know if they're going out in the spring of this year or next year, but they're going out for a levy about every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So they're always in front of the voters. I think they need to like look at reaffirmation of their district and try to get back to one budget in 5 years. Absorb it or something. So
It's, I mean, they have a pretty tough enterprise zone that they have to work around too.
they don't get any taxes from any of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Lapine, the city of Lapine cut a sweet deal for all that commercial real estate, but they're not paying any taxes whatsoever to any services provided, which is tough. Any other questions? Okay. Administrative, tomorrow or last month, we met with SROA. I talked about that around home hardening, defensible space. Tomorrow we'll be there also, and Oregon State Fire Marshal will be there. Heather Miller will come in and talk about what everything they do from Oregon State Fire Marshal's perspective on home hardening, defensible space, because SROA wants to start a task force, a wildland task force. So just education, looking at, ways to do that. And then they'll just have to go from there. If they want to put together a task force, that's great. So it's their choice. I don't know if Randy, you want to add anything to that?
It gets kind of like I was telling you before, we have a task force right now, so they're not really want to jumping into another one. But it's a long-term task force too. It's not just a few month one like the other one. So it's going to be discussed about some more, I guess, tomorrow.
Well, that was the thing that I tried to tell them, like, this is not a one and done. You don't go into a task force and be there 6 months and be done. This is a commitment. If you want to be involved in home hardening and defensible space and everything else, you need to be really involved, and it takes a lot of time. And you better have passion for it.
Educating the new people who come here too.
Right. Yeah.
Ongoing thing. I did my house, by the way, my defensible space.
Good for you. Did you talk to your neighbors too?
I'm trying to set an example to start with.
There you go. The Oregon State Fire Marshal is transitioning to a new fire reporting system. So we did some training on that. That is moving along. So everybody's been through the training, and so it's more of a national standard for fire reporting, which is great. Participated in lieutenant's interviews. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Great job. Last Thursday and Friday, I was at the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association roundtables, a lot of conversation on workers' comp. Talked about kind of what was going on in the legislature. It's a short session, 6 weeks. Each legislator can bring 2 bills. There's not gonna be a lot of stuff going on. they're not gonna pass anything that's money driven. They're gonna be focused on ODOT, I think is really where they're gonna try to figure out their dollars. Oregon State Firefighters Council had their conference on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? And JJ went to that. Got some good information, I think, from sharing with Mindy around overtime and those types of things. So it's great that we're able to get out there and participate in those things and bring back information that can be used, that is beneficial to this agency. I'm also sitting on the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Mobilization Committee, and that's just around consolidated fires and how that's operated. I had an operations meeting on Monday. We switched everything to Monday just because Engineer Newcomb's got rescue training on Tuesday, so we wanted him to participate in that. He's one of our AIC captains, so we moved that to Monday, which has been great. We've been doing company evolutions down at the marina. Center Resort has allowed us to be able to go out there and train, which on B shift, we're able to find out that a hydrant wasn't working properly. And so we were able to contact with the Water Utilities Department to be able to open up valves that they thought were open and were not. So, which is great. So it's a benefit for us.
Time to find it now.
Instead of on fire.
I sent a thank you card to Josh Willis and just thanking him for allowing us to be out there. So we have access to that through till about March, and then I think they open the restaurant, and then we'll shut it down. But it's great. It's a great spot for us to be. People come by, and we can do a lot of different things out there. So which works out great. Worked on anchoring system review, rope training. We had our case review with our physician advisor, Dr. Murphy, today around OB pediatric. Very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable, easy to talk to. The guys are super intelligent. I mean, our guys are great. I mean, they're smart, and it's really good to see. And he threw some really tricky cases, and the guys really, I mean, it was phenomenal how they dealt with those. So it was good. Dr. Murphy does a really good job. And the other thing is on Wednesday, Deschutes County approved the R327 county building code for home hardening. So that is for any new construction in unincorporated or in Deschutes County, unincorporated areas. So it has to do with fire resistant roofs, covering your eaves, screening, hardy plank, those types of things, home hardening. The county now has adopted that. It's not going to have a big impact on us in Sun River because we only have a few undeveloped lots in Sun River. I'd say 5 to 10 maybe, unless somebody was to do a complete tear down. I don't know.
I think there's more than, I don't know the number, but
It's under 50, but
under 50, but it's over 10.
yeah.
Okay. So anywhere from 10 to 50.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Right. So,
We will start having full tear downs, I would think, get some of the homes are pretty old.
yeah, and I'm hoping that SROA's building or their code or rules committee or whoever deals with that may look at those home hardening standards for remodels. But that would be another thing that would take into account. So, and then the next step the county will be looking at is defensible space and adopting that, which could definitely have an impact here in some. And then I'm going to be gone January 29th through February 14th. Chief Bjorvik will be stepping in for me. I'll be out of the country. So that's it. If there's any questions.
Does the hardening affect houses under current construction right now?
No, it won't go into effect till April 1st. And if they're under current construction, no. So it's going to be any permitted buildings after April 1st. But they had their hearing, great testimony from a bunch of people, and then they'll have the second reading and then they'll vote it in. And go for it. So it's a matter of time.
You brought up something that I actually was going to mention during the police report and then forgot about it. So thank you for reminding me. We actually had a good net of interview panel for both the lieutenant and the sergeant interviews that went in. It's I remember Captain Parker from Jen came down for the lieutenant. Chief Rasick actually asked at Coles, he was like, hey, would anyone like to help? And he got a tremendous amount of help and support. I know for sergeant interviews, Lieutenant Huey came down from Redmond. I know Ben supplied somebody as well. So, I mean, it's a sign, it's a good sign of respect for the agency that we are getting the help that we are in terms of the interviewing that we're doing. For mentioning. Additional questions for Chief Booth? All right, thank you, everybody, for the monthly reports. We will move on to item 7. A discussion on allocation of funds for legal research on potential district expansion. I will turn it over to Directors Shoemaker and Stevens for this.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So we've been having, as everybody know, we've been in discussions prior to the beginning of the year with Caldera and for the most part, Crosswater. So we're in the process of providing them some more materials, but as we've developed packages, robust packages with a lot of information in it, it became very apparent that there could be some conflict potentially with Deschutes County on just a legal determination, some other things. So we thought it's safe that we might pursue a legal resource to assist in evaluating exactly what we need to do, how to go forward. We think we know, but this is not, nothing's in writing, so to speak. And so we contacted SDAO, who in turn recommended, thank you, Mindy, by the way, recommended a particular law firm. And so after discussions with Administrator Holliday, myself, Director Stevens, we think it's in the best interest of the district to go ahead and put a retainer for this individual going forward, with the amount being what we're initially requesting, stop me if I misquote this, 10,000, not to exceed 10,000, excuse me. And that would hold them online as needed and to initiate the research needed to give us a definitive answer on, is this viable? Can it be done? Exactly what our position with the county is, and how to pursue that. So that's what I'm proposing to the board. And Director Stevens, did I leave anything out?
No, I think I might just add that, we're a completely unique type of organization in the state. And so there's no template of examples like this that we can follow. And so we don't have, a worked example. And yet it matters deeply to us that we do it correctly. And that's why we would seek specific legal counsel with someone knowledgeable about this area.
Well, and I think it would be useful, yes, we are pursuing one particular direction, but I think it would be good to get some generic questions answered as well. I mean, there's been some questions that we've gotten on potential rate splits for the district. It would be good to try and suss those out. And then just to confirm on this, the reason why we are going to an outside counsel as opposed to our existing counsel, Deschutes County serves Deschutes County first from a legal perspective. Where there is a potential conflict, we must find different legal representation because the county would have to represent themselves. Did I get that right?
Also, I mean, Caldera and Crosswater came to us about wanting Sun River Police Services. And so I think what we've, Directors Shoemaker and Stephen and I have heard that it's on then the district to say, okay, these are the parameters about moving forward, and this is how to go about doing it. So then, considering we've not ran into this before, I think that's a cost the district must absorb to have that information, whether it's them or anything else. And so it's $5,000 retainer. It's $500 an hour that's billed against the retainer. And so, per our discussions about best practices, it's best to bring something like this to the board and then give a month, and then so the next month we'll vote. So that gives the public opportunity to provide feedback. So today's just a discussion, and then we'll have it on the agenda for next month.
So it would be a $5,000 retainer to get started, and then right now we're proposing a not to exceed 10,000, and or we would bring that back to the board if we to address it.
Correct.
How many hours is that?
That's
20.
what, yeah, it's 20.
I did that in my head. Okay, it's, like I said, that I think the thing we gotta do, and you might want to just have a discussion with the law firm itself in terms of, their estimate. I want to make sure that we can be specific because we have a specific example in front of us, but I think now would be the time to start to look at things like split rates. That gives us options for, other expansion opportunities or other revenue opportunities.
And to be clear, annexation itself isn't an issue. It's the
Right.
rate issue that is presenting the biggest problem. And again, as Director Stevens pointed out, we don't have a template to go by here in this instance. We're kind of making our own template as we go. So that is on the agenda to ask them specifically. In fact, that's probably front and center. But we can't, I don't even want to talk to them until we have either approval or disapproval of funding, because it'll cost us money before I even pick up the phone.
So you said there's no issue with annexation. Is that because they've come to us and
Well,
want to be part of this, or is this?
the annexation part of it's the easy part.
Okay,
It's the funding for the service district split rate between what we have as a whole,
right,
between police and fire, and only police.
okay.
That's
I
unique
gotcha.
throughout the state.
Yeah, we are the only district. in the
I knew
state
that, but I
like
didn't know what
right
that
now,
was.
yeah.
Trying to make clarity on that, so I knew what we were.
And I have literally a packet with Department of Revenue and ORS stat. You can go around and around and around and find the answer you're looking for, and never makes sense.
That's why we're hiring somebody.
Yes.
We actually got a Department of Revenue opinion. It came through the county assessor asked them some questions. But even the county assessor came back and said they've never done this, and so they're offering an opinion. If we come back and say, well, what about this? They might have a different opinion. So I think this is a good exercise.
Yeah, I get it too.
And also to have the support of legal, to have something justifiable in court versus us just saying the support.
Yeah, because when it goes to the county commission, need to be able to say definitively, they want to do this, and we're legally able to do this.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
I was at that town hall from the sheriff's,
Uh-huh.
and he said, at least the way he talked, he sounded like they were against it.
That the sheriff's office was against it, or the Caldera and Crosswater were against it?
The sheriff's office would sound like they were wanting to step up and do what they should have been doing along and patrolling there more often.
In that, I was,
You were there.
yeah, being at the town hall, I heard a very similar thing. It's the sheriff's office job to cover it, and I think Sheriff Rupert is doing his due diligence and saying, if it's my job to do, I ought to do it.
Well, okay, I just don't know if that conversations with them about if they're gonna say, fine, go ahead and take them over.
I
I
mean,
know we haven't got.
It's been part of broader discussions, yes.
it's a very friendly set of discussions going on right now, I think is the simple way to say it. I know Chief Rassick and Sheriff Rupert have talked a lot, and I've talked to Sheriff Rupert as well. Just that, in different contexts, but, no, I don't think any government agency is going to say, sure, take $1 million or $750,000 of revenue away from me and I'll figure out how to work that into my budget. So but I think we are all doing our due diligence to try and figure out what the right answer is.
Which is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's up to those HOAs to decide what they want to do.
The citizens themselves.
The registered citizens. Also, worth noting that Chief Rassick has also been very adamant that him and the sheriff have had quite a few discussions, and that no matter how this shakes out, the relationship between the two agencies is still strong and still will continue to be strong. So.
And we saw that at the open forum as well. Sheriff Rupert went out of his way to include Pete in the discussion or Chief Rassick in the discussion a couple of times to make sure that people understood that, we are cooperating well. Right.
Great, so I'll add it to the February agenda and,
I guess the question is, are you okay with getting it approved in February? Does that give you time or necessary? Because you said you can't really engage until we approve the funding. Is February good for you?
Yes,
Okay,
as long, we'll just notify the attorney that the vote is up and we'll be contacting them for specific at that point.
okay.
based on discussions today, it sounds pretty positive, so I'll reach out and maybe we can get something set
Yeah,
up
if we
after that
can,
meeting.
without being committed to it, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, we will move on to item 8. And this is on me. Chief Booth gave me some updates to his employment contract ages ago. And I never stuck it on the agenda. So first of all, my apologies to the chief in terms of where we are. But we do have a new employment contract that is in front of us for Chief Booth. That is in your packet. There are actually 2 copies of the contract in the packet. There's the existing contract, which was signed in August of 23. And then there are the proposed revisions in yellow to the contract, so that you can see. We did run this by legal and they were good with the contract changes. And if there are any specific questions on the changes, we're happy for them now. With the intent to vote to approve my signature on the contract. So are there any questions to the contract changes? And it would be retroactive to September 10, 2025.
Sure, I would just request that the vote to approve would happen at next month. The public discussion and then kind of how it's moved along for other items. I didn't know if that's something you'd want to continue.
If Chief Booth is okay with that.
It seems how it'll be retroactive.
Are you okay with this, with us?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it will be retroactive? Okay. Any questions on the specific changes? I mean, it's mostly, there's no real change to, I'm going to put it this way, there's no real change to compensation. There are changes to the way that the compensation is delivered, but I don't think the bottom line changes or any significant monetary change. All right, since Administrator Holiday is being my conscience today. If there are no questions on it, we will vote on it as is next month, retroactive September 10 of 20. All right. If we're done with the discussion there, we are on to, item 9. Policy regarding the use and allocation of 717 funds. My name's on it, although I will be involving staff in this as well. So there was a question that came up, one, in terms of we have funds coming into Fund 717, which is, as you all recall, is our building allocation fund. So basically, this is where the property taxes of the 47-cent levy are delivered. And it was primarily used for building construction and loan payoff. It continues to be used for loan payoff, but there is a small amount that grows every year at about that 3.2% or 3.5% rate on property tax collections. That is an overage for what goes into loan payoff.
In addition to the interest earned.
Yeah, and there is additional interest earned that comes in for funds that are sitting in, especially as we were doing construction, the funds were in there for quite a bit. So we did actually get a fair amount of interest that was done. So that's one, so the funds coming in is one bucket, the interest earned is a second bucket, and then there is a third bucket of anything that we would allocate in. If the board recalls, we did near the end of the fiscal year last year allocate $500,000 from 715 to go to 717 to cover any immediate additional project expenses that we had. We were noting like that the South Apron, some additional construction charges. So that would be a third bucket that came in. So now I'm going to turn to Administrator Holliday. We have been asking some questions in terms of, can those funds be used for anything other than building construction and maintenance? For instance, could we use them to pay utility bills? Could we use them to pay the land lease? And we went to Oric, I
The
believe,
legal firm that we utilized a few years ago for the
for
levy.
the levy itself, to get their opinion on what could those funds be used for. So at this point, I'll turn to you and ask for what's your opinion on the summary that we got from them.
So what I gleaned from that was that, that we cannot use the funds coming in from the tax levy for current building utility costs, repair and maintenance, or the lease, that we, unbeknownst to us, really kind of pigeonholed the use of those funds just for the remodel and the expansion per the measure verbiage that the voters approved.
So it's not an ORS issue, it's actually the language that we used for the ballot that was showed us.
Yes, so the voters approved it for just those uses, or that use. So however, but there was a question of how about the funds that were earned via interest income and funds that were moved from the operations account to that account. And that's where we would need to do some further investigation with Deschutes County as far as, that would be more along the lines of ORS. So what we talked about from agenda item with the board is that something the board would like to pursue? Because right now, all of those expenses are coming out of the admin budget out of 715. So this would just alleviate some of that budget for that account by using the 717 account for those funds. But at the same time, then that reduces the amount of money that's in there for reserve. And it would also require me to do separate itemization of the revenue coming in and the expenses going out to verify for any audit reasons that the funds that were coming in for the levy were being used for the building loan or construction costs that can be supported with documentation to show it's for the expansion of the building or the remodeling of the building. And then I would have to have another ledger for the other funds to show that that's what's used for the utility. So it creates some extra work, but it also creates some extra, I feel like it opens us up for potential issues later on that people might question. And so I just wanted to put it out to the board on if they want to move forward with this and we create a policy regarding it. But I also think it opens us up to, you know, some potential scrutiny from other agencies that the district hasn't had in the past as far as Department of Revenue, budget law, just to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which we would be, but is it worth it for that extra added layer and the workload it requires? It's kind of up to the board.
Well, how does that meet our earlier discussion with the reserve, going back to the reserve study in the building and Director Ralston at the time, the money's sitting in an account to go directly to the building? What impact?
Because that is the construction and remodel of the building. So the remodel. So for instance, when we have to have new carpet, then the org team deemed that would be appropriate because you're remodeling, you know, it's kind of under that. But then also at that time, you know, this is only per when the loan's paid off. So we've only got 6 more years to pay off the loan. And then after that, the account can be used primarily for whatever. It's pigeonholed for that loan. The measure was approved to pay back that loan. So once the loan's approved or paid off,
Yeah.
then that fund we can use for whatever we want. So this would only be a 6-year time frame that we would kind of be allocating different funds to different uses within that fund.
Mindy, what order of magnitude are we talking about? Is this 10K? Is this 100K? How much?
The total overage was for all 10 years was a little over $1 million. I don't remember the number directly off the top of my head, but we did a projection. It's a little over $1 million total. That said, we've already accrued some of that, and we did have, a couple $100,000 of overages on the construction. So that got eaten into a little bit. So it's probably, I'm gonna spitball, it's probably in the range of about $800,000 total.
But is Director Stevens, are you asking how much are the funds that we would take out of operations and move to 717?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
I think that we've got several different situations going on simultaneously, all affecting
Sure.
account
So it's
717.
I would say it's anywhere between $75,000 and $100,000.
Okay.
When you add in the loan lease to SROA, all the utilities, any repairs, snow removal, those sort of things. So it's a large amount of money. However, I don't know. I worry about just the extra layer of scrutiny that it would just bring to the district as a whole. Not that we would have anything to hide. It's just that, it can muddy the waters a little bit, especially when it comes to the audit, just showing and extra due diligence on that end.
Sure. How much money did we transfer in? That seems like a different source of money.
Right. So we transferred in, well, technically 3.5 million. So we transferred in 3 million to pay for the building, and then 500,000 just in May to help bridge the gap between the fiscal years when some items were coming due and before the funds came in November.
So we had about $500,000 that we transferred from 715 to 717 for that year end gap period. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that seems like a different question. Like, isn't it possible to say, now that we're in the new fiscal year, we transfer it back because that was just a timing related issue, or no, once it's gone, it's gone. There's no clawing it back, if you will.
We've discussed in the past in relation to 716, which is our basically capital operations, police cars, fire trucks, other items like that. So for 716, the discussion has always been, could we transfer money from 16 back to 15 if there was a necessity? There's nothing that stops us from doing that, other than it's good practice if you're reserving for something that you don't try and use that to go pay your daily bills. So the same would apply to 717, which writ large kind of says, why would we transfer this? Now you're getting into my opinion. Why would we transfer money into 717 so that we can use it to run the daily business? Now the question that extends based on that is, what do we need in 717? That's why we're trying to get this reserve study done, so we actually have a number. We're delayed on that, and we need to get off the dime on that. But then realistically, what do we want to start allocating? And I think it's a larger discussion about 716 and 717. Based on the health of those reserves, what do we want to be transferring in out of operations that we know is going to be strained over the next few years? And we're all here to have that discussion with the county at the joint meeting.
So in my opinion, what I would like is maybe we just pause this for a month or two. Let's get further down the road with budget. Let's see how some of these M numbers shake out, and see where we're at, because we still also have a healthy revolving amount in 715. So it's not like, if our budget doesn't balance, there are not funds within that, versus getting into the hairiness of not stealing, but utilizing 717 for other funds. It would be my preferred direction.
And so long-term, that's how you would like to see it. Like, once the loan is paid off, the building is installed, so to speak.
Correct.
And then you would keep it in the same format as opposed to.
Depending on the financial status of the 715 fund at that time.
You still want to keep it kind of separate as opposed to everything in the 717, whether it's you know, gas and water, whatever, utilities. You want to keep them at
It's,
that point, that's what.
it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't matter. It's just which area do you want me to put the funds?
Okay.
Decide at that time. Won't matter.
Just thinking we don't need to recreate the wheel
Yeah.
that 5 years from now.
Yeah, well, and one of my favorite things to say is that one of our jobs as the current board is to protect future boards from themselves. It's highly unlikely that any of us will be on the board unless we're true gluttons for punishment 6 years from now when the levy is done. We should provide, this is our opportunity, you know, as we discuss it now and as we discuss it in the future, this is our opportunity to give future boards guidance to try and protect them. But at the same time, you know, we need to recognize that conditions are going to change. So right now, again, getting back into opinion, it seems like if we wanted to do something using Fund 717 to pay for anything other than construction and remodel, it would get really complicated. And complicating things is not something that we need to do for our already stretched staff, in my opinion. But at the same time, you know, we know that I think it's useful to continue to get the opinions on where we can and where we can't go. And Warwick actually, I saw in one of the emails, they said, oh, we ought to meet and have a discussion on potential ways that you could go re-vote on this.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, well, I think there was that. But along that, you know, going back to what we were just discussing on the other item, if we think that there's some opportunity to pay, you know, a small amount of money to get a decent legal opinion on how funds can be spent or how funds could be reallocated, might not be a bad thing. Again, let's try and get the information of as many experts as we can, and hopefully in the process of that, we don't get conflicting opinions.
Well, remember, experts and they're only as good as what you're willing to pay for.
That's true.
It's also the option, because we have done an extra payment to the loan to pay the loan off earlier, to then free up those funds earlier too.
Apropos of nothing. I think when I was, I think when I was 7, I read something that has stuck with me, which, you know, if you look at expert, X represents the unknown and a spurt is a drip of water under pressure. So an expert is just some unknown drip under pressure. Yes.
You have to pay for it.
But that stuck with me, for greater than 50 years now. So, you know, it must be relevant.
So I'm assuming then the direction of the board is just to move forward with the budget, leaving those costs in the 715 fund and then bringing it back to the board if.
I think that's a good way to run 715. Let's look and see. We know 715 is always going to be painful. Let's see what the degree of pain is right now. And that can give us that. And I think it really comes to a couple of things. The tradition has been, we look in 715, what do we want to contribute to the reserves, both 16 and 17? And we've been a lot more granular about that decision the last couple of years. I think that is going to come in front of us as we look at the budget for fiscal 27. What do we want to be contributing to both 716 and 717, if at all? Or do we want to start thinking about long-term clawbacks from the reserve funds? I'm generally against that, but it might be inevitable at some point. All right, other discussions or other things that we want to bring up on this?
Jill?
One more point, I guess, from mine. I'm not sure if I was very clear. My thought had been to restore to 715 the money that we temporarily moved over to make sure that cash flows worked on 717 across the fiscal year. I was not proposing using the money for other purposes or anything. If we moved it to make sure cash flows worked, could we restore that money now back from 717 to 715? And so I wasn't part of any of the initial movement. Just that was the nature of my question.
Yeah, and that's a good question to keep asking, in my opinion. I think we are going to want to look at that as we go through fiscal 27 budget and potentially into budgets beyond that. Again, from a practice standpoint, you hope that you don't do that, but Jill, since you weren't in the meetings, Director Ralston was actually pretty adamant that the $500,000 was a loan that we were making to 717 for cash flow. So there are other board members that have had similar opinions to that.
Right. And it's different than the vote of the public and the funding of the levy. It seems like this was a different type of money that was, created from a different source and has maybe different rules with it. So
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yes.
I take good use of the taxpayers' money very seriously. And again, it's highly unlikely that, most of us will be around to have this discussion, but, one of the other discussions that we have bandied around in the past is, if we had the opportunity to pay the loan early, would we sunset the levy? Again, not anything that we need to decide right now, but that is going to be something that might be in front of a future board. So, let's continue to pay good diligence to the taxpayers' money since it's our money. We as taxpayers, not ours as the district. Okay, moving on, we will go to item 10, Civil Service Commission. With the unfortunate passage of Mr. Cedar, we do have a vacancy on the Civil Service Commission. I'll turn it over to Chief Boos on what have we been thinking about.
So we have to, I was thinking about this, we have to bring the Civil Service Commission together anyways. We should have done this back when we had agreed on our contract with the association that goes through civil service. And so we're reaching out to Carolyn, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. To bring, pardon me?
No, Ron Angel.
Ron Angel.
Ron, that's it.
To bring a meeting together. I think, Jim, you're gonna have to be part of it, because I think you are kind of have to be, you gotta find somebody to fill in that spot, basically where we're at. So we've got to not only, which we can do, bless the agreement, the labor agreement that we have with the association, but at the same token, we need to fill that role. So we need to find somebody out there that wants to sit on the Civil Service Commission. And I think we just need to get together, kind of review, go through everything and kind of clean everything up. So
I'm happy to join in. Yeah.
yeah. So because it has to be, the board has to, I think, approve that individual, whoever it is, to be on the Civil Service Commission. You don't necessarily have to advertise it, that I'm aware of, that there's an open spot. We just need to figure it out. We got to get the position filled. That's where I'm at. So, and then what we'll do is initially set up a meeting with the four of us, and then we'll go from there. And so if you know of anybody that you want on the Civil Service Commission that's bored out of their mind, they want to be part of the community, we have a vacancy.
Limited time commitment.
It is limited time commitment. I mean,
Not very much, honestly. I mean, and those are things I think we need to also address, like I think in the rules, it states you have to meet quarterly. Well, if you don't have anything to talk about, but there's no reason to, so we may want to change some of the language in there. That to meet when there are things to talk about.
yeah, and that charter would probably be something that the Civil Service Commission would approve.
Because
We'd have to determine whether it gets passed to us or whether it gets passed to the governing board for
I
approval.
mean, because for example, we don't have an active captain's list, nor do we have an active engineer list. So one of the things that I want to get done here, start working on, is putting on those exams. So we do have an actual list for captain, engineer. If somebody leaves, we can promote, because right now we're behind the 8 ball. We should always have active lists. And so we should be, if they're a 2-year list, then we need to keep them active as we move. So those are things that they would be involved in, is the process, how it would take it, how we did it and all that stuff. So.
Okay. Yes.
And I have something to go back to, sorry, number 9, whenever we're just, I forgot to mention, Chief, those ongoing contracts. for 717 for the public safety building, the ongoing contracts. So those would then just be going into the SSD contracts because they couldn't be paid out of 717. So that's another thing worth noting is not only, there's limitations on 717. We're now getting yearly contracts that we weren't aware of for various software programs, the cameras, different things that now will be going into 715 that will be impacting that budget as well.
Yeah, so there's like the Cook security system. There's actually an annual licensing fee for all of the cameras and the readers and all of those things. So what we need to do is, one of the things that Chief Rassick and I talked about, do we really need all these cameras around here? Like if we were to remove some cameras per se, right? So have them in secure areas. Maybe we have some savings there. But the trick, I talked to Cook Security, they're like, well, once you remove them, then we'll readjust and we'll tell you how much you're gonna save. And I'm like, well, can't you just tell us like for each camera, like what we would save? They're like, no, not until you, and I'm like, well, we can't, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, then what if we find out that we're only saving a minimal amount of money? Let's just keep the cameras,
Card, any card.
So we have that, we have like the generator, that's gonna be annual. We've got our alerting system, but we've already budgeted for that. So there's just various things that that we're learning, that's gonna be the cost of upkeep and maintenance on the facility, so.
I think the simple answer is let's put them all in 715 as we see them come in and understand how that strains 715 to figure out.
Yeah, we're moving those all underneath Mindy, because it's just a central, central location for all of that versus having pieces in fire, police. It's all the same building. So if it's anything that incorporates both sides, we're just putting it under Mindy's. So you'll see her R&M's gonna go up, obviously, because she is now absorbing all of those costs, so.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. We're on that bullet.
Right, additional questions on that or additional questions on civil service since we're blending? All right. We were on to item 11. Director Stevens is requesting an adjustment of the board meeting times for February and March. I will actually turn it over to her to explain the request, and then we can consider the request.
Great, thank you. This is only if the times can be adjusted. I understand if they cannot be. This is a public meeting and they might not be adjustable, but I'll be in Asia for both February and March. And because of the severe time change difference between the two geographies, I think I have to be up maybe at 3 a.m. or so in order to attend our meetings. I don't want to miss 2 meetings in a row. It's important to me to attend the meetings if possible. And I just know that I am useless at certain times of the morning. Like I might as well not attend, and I would just have to review the recordings and the minutes, which will be what I can do. I can still meet with the chiefs, for instance, on an as kind of ad hoc basis. But if it were possible to move it, I think I'm requesting 1 hour. 1 hour from 4 to 5 a.m. is already, gosh, now maybe I could hold a thought in my head. And so that was the nature of this request.
So basically the request is to start the meetings at what's your proposal, 2 p.m.
Correct.
For
1
February
hour.
and March?
That's right.
Yeah.
That would help me because I'm going to be in Greece in February at that time. So it's the same kind of scenario. I have to get online and which is fine.
Well, but this would push you to get on this would push you to getting on at midnight.
I'm afraid it would make it later for you.
Yeah, you're right. It would be midnight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just an extra hour for the use to wear off.
well, that's true. I might be more fun though that way.
But first of all, I'm going to say I admire both of your commitments to saying, oh yeah, I really want to call into this meeting at some outrageous hour. That's very admirable in a volunteer position.
From a public notice standpoint, moving the time from, 1 to 2 is better versus earlier because we could open up the Teams meeting early. And, obviously I would do an announcement. It would be on the agenda. I'd make sure everybody knows, but you could always open up the Teams meeting early and say this meeting is now moved to 2 p.m. Please come back. So just from that perspective, it should work fine to move it forward an hour or 2, whatever.
One would be better than two.
Yes. Yeah. So the proposal is, and I will look at the 3 other board members plus our ex officio member. The proposal would be to accommodate the other directors in their semi-insane desire to continue to call into meetings remotely. Would you be okay with 2 p.m. starts February and March?
Yeah, sure.
You go with
I
that?
can ski longer.
Okay.
That's right.
So we will, I don't think there needs to be a motion or anything. We can just make it so.
Yep.
We will, the February, so this will be an announcement and we can, let's note it. Also, we'll obviously have to note it in the public notices that our February and March meetings will move to 2 p.m. And we don't want to push them all that much later anyway. Yeah, the days are getting longer, but one of the reasons we moved to 1 p.m. is that we know that there's a lot of people that, especially that are working, that don't particularly want to stay till 6 or 7 p.m.
The 1 o'clock move was a great move.
Yes, the 1 o'clock move was a astoundingly great move as far as I'm
Yes,
concerned.
I agree.
Susan, is it too late to get a little blurb in for the February scene to say that? Okay, I'll email you later. Okay.
Don't mention the Uzo.
Okay, thanks very much.
We were kind of hoping you were going to bring some back,
I
but that's
could.
something different. All right, I think we are done on that. We are on to item 12, the December 2025 unaudited financials.
Thank you, Chair. So I've gotten some feedback that nobody liked the red. So I changed the color legend. So I don't know how everyone feels about that.
I wanted it changed to the downspout color, but
So I put in green items that are a little further along as far as payment for the year comparatively to where we are in the fiscal year that we've already talked about. So for instance, workers' comp, that's always going to look like it's really high for the month, for the year to date, but it's a one-time cost. So I put that in green because we've talked about that. However, that doesn't mean you can, don't ask or I can provide a reminder. The areas to discuss for this month, I put in yellow. So just didn't know if anybody had any feedback on the situation, because there was a lot of feedback on the red. So, okay. So you can see in the revenue that we have received a fair chunk of our property tax collections. So being December, it was up just a little bit. We're at 90%. I think we budget usually a 94% or so return. So we probably still see some of those coming in for the January financials. There is one area of note that the miscellaneous income district has been receiving funds from prior payroll tax inaccuracies that I'm working with the IRS to get refunded that I've talked about in previous months. And so randomly, I will just get deposits from the Department of Treasury. And so that's where I've been putting those funds. I got a few of them, quite a few actually, and turns out a couple of them didn't go through the same process as our conflag reimbursements that didn't go through the same process that the other conflag reimbursements went through. So I took those into miscellaneous.
You stole money from.
Stole your money. So into the conflag, you will see that in the January financials, and we have been paid for all conflag reimbursements. Yes,
Would have never known.
I know you would have.
she's ratting herself out.
Yeah, so I'm owning up. I'm a good Catholic. I do that, And so I do. So anyway, as you can see, we're doing great when it comes to revenue and the resources. Any questions on revenue though? Especially with ambulance receivables. I mean, so it's interesting. Chief's dashboard is a calendar year dashboard, and this is a fiscal year. So, but as you can see, halfway through the year, we're more than half of where we thought we'd be with the budget for ambulance receivables. So we're doing great with that. Okay, moving on to.
It's just a real quick question. I think property tax collections are about where we expect it as well, right? I mean, the 90% seems a little low, but I think it was that way last year as well.
I'll take a look, but I think we usually budget about a 94% return. So
We budget it's either a 94 or a 95% collection.
collection, I'm sorry.
But the 90% would be just basically one-time payments, and there's a couple of.
Sure, you bet. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, checking on this, I think that the 90% is about accurate, but it might be worth looking back last year and making sure.
I can bring that to you guys next month to see. Okay, going on to expenditures, police department, everything is being halfway through the year, right at 50%. As you can see, the salary savings from pausing that lieutenant position, which you'll start to see changing with the January financials for Lieutenant Van Meter's promotion. In addition, we've had a couple vacancies, and I believe Chief Rassick is hoping to have those filled in January, so that you'll start to see more movement there. But overall, personnel is doing great. They're below budget, and no areas of issue or concern there. As well as materials and services, under budget for where they are, like we said, there's a couple areas there in green that we've already talked about. But overall, the police department is below budget as expected for this time of year. Fire department, very similar. You can see that they're actually just right on budget when it comes to personnel and benefits. I have that breakdown as a separate document as far as the conflag. So you'll see that their overtime, is on the financials, looks to be a little above budget. But then when you look at the breakdown, you can see that the conflag, the amounts that we got reimbursed for to wash out. The only area, Chief, that I highlighted, vehicle R&M, which is one of those that's hard to predict, but it also, I just want to remind people that includes Deputy Chief Bjorvik's truck that had an issue in June, got fixed and billed in July. So that was kind of a carryover of cost, but also just to note that one's a little high, but it's also one that it's really hard to budget.
Well, we weren't really expecting having to modify all the vehicles with the sensors as well. So it's not a big impact, but it's still an impact.
Yeah, there's cost every time, Nick's here, the cost, definitely. But I mean, it's just the wear and tear on.
The sensors for the exhaust.
For the FA, yeah.
So then that'll be billed out of 717.
Well, then we'd have to, that's a good point. So when we get the bill from SROA for vehicle maintenance, we're gonna need to break that out. I've never seen a bill from SROA.
Deputy Chief Bjorvik does. He looks at those every month.
Okay,
So if you can connect with him, yeah.
well, I watch the bigger stuff, so. I'm looking at it from big picture. Yeah. That's my concern. Then the special supplies, so the reason that's so high is because Tim Moore approved something for the new building and it had to get redone and it was like $3,000. And it was just sitting at this sign shop. So we had to go and get it. And so then Heather and I are like, where are we gonna put it? And I was like, there was never a place to put it in here. So we put it in our special supplies. So
Been sitting there for a couple of years.
yeah, nobody knew about it.
All right.
So anyway,
Overall, fire materials and services is doing great and under budget.
I mean, that was just like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? It's really cool. But I mean, yeah.
Bike patrol, nothing new to report there. No change in activity since last month. Admin, No changes in personnel. It's still way under budget, and with Rachel here now, you'll see some to that account for her salary. The one area of note, oh, this is the question I had, legal, which is, a little over, which we've already talked about. I'm assuming then that's where we're going to be adding the not to exceed 10,000 for next month. So just so the board is aware that that's already over budget. And so this will be adding to that. However, overall, that's why I highlighted the overall in yellow as well. I'm way below budget with the materials and services. So there's adequate funds there for that unexpected expense.
Yeah, and it's just more an observation than anything else. We know that county legal will probably go up a
Yes.
little bit next year. Because we already had to do some negotiating for this fiscal year. So we know that that will go up. But I think as we budget for legal, we need to recognize that there will be times that we need to go outside of county legal and that.
Yep, so I can add on that as well. Any questions with 7:15? If not, I'll move to 7:16. It looks like, Chief, that the fire department is being done with outfitting your new truck. At least the billing of it.
Yeah, we just, we're waiting on the bill for doing the decals on the sides and everything.
And then I know Chief Rassick ordered the suppressors, and I think it's just a matter of timing of billing coming in. So once again, I just monitor to make sure that all the billing does not exceed what was approved out of that fund. And then moving down to 7:17, you'll note that the budget adjustment is in there. So those line items look a lot better than they did last month. It's hard to say whether it's on track because that's not fiscal year based, it's expense based. So I just wanted to highlight that, right now we have about 1.1 million in that fund because we just received all the tax revenue. However, we do have a large Kirby Nagelhout expense potentially coming at some point.
There's still a retainage of, I'm not gonna know the exact number, but
Couple hundred.
It's 180,000.
And then we also have a loan payment coming up, so.
Loan payment or interest payment?
A loan payment,
Loan payment.
yeah, so we've already done the interest payment,
That's in the 700K range.
Yeah. that's a big guy. That's the big guy. So overall, all the funds are doing well. I highlighted in yellow the breakdown of each three funds, just the percentage at 7:15, we're at about 44%. So considering we're halfway through the year, we're overall under budget and doing well. And then, like I said, that document on the last page is inaccurate, and I'll have an updated one for the conflicts, but you can turn all those no's to yeses. We've received all the funds, and I'll make sure those are reflected for Chief. And then you'll see the overtime costs right now. If you break out the regular overtime with the conflict, the overtime budget is about 37%. So doing really well with that budget this year too. Any questions on the financials?
I appreciate our diligence in monitoring and regulating the fire overtime, because that is a pretty hefty expense no matter how you slice it. Right, any questions for Administrator Holliday, on the financials? If not, we would need a motion to approve the unaudited financials.
Approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. Director Stevens?
Yes.
Director Zook?
Yes.
Director Shoemaker?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion passes. SROA board meetings, we will turn it over to Director Schneider to.
The ex officio Schneider.
Yes. You're both.
Yeah, true. Okay, just the highlights that you'd be interested in, obviously, the fire protection discussion we talked about before, no task force yet. We'll talk about that again tomorrow. One thing that we're doing, the ladder fuel reduction plan is being updated this year. That has some effect on that. I'm sure,
These are always uncontroversial.
yeah, just like anything else, any other plan. speaking of controversial member pool, if people have heard about the battle with that, about opening it longer and look at the money and it doesn't make sense. For the 3 people who want to go swimming and winter. Our community development is now doing tree protection enforcement. You know, you can put stuff around your trees for a certain period. We're gonna start flagging down people who let them up there for seconds.
Yeah, usually when the tree grows so much that it splits.
Yeah.
It's great.
As you well know, we're getting the IT task force. We did an update last month and we're getting a presentation. I think that's tomorrow as well.
That's tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, still working on the rules and regulation task force, so that's still going on. PDS, the latest update, there's 2,600 homes have been done to the home, and of those 1,300 are activated, so there's still another, 1,700 that need to be done, including my house.
And we have until the end of calendar 26 on that, right?
Yeah, so it'll get there, and I haven't heard much feedback from anybody who's hooked up with it, how well they're working or anything.
It's great.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hooked up? Yeah. I'd like to touch base with you about sometime personally on that.
That's another lively discussion on the homeowners forum, in case you.
Yeah, I know. I follow that one on Facebook. And last thing is, you all have heard about the new Lava Butte path that's coming in. So we had problems with class 2 and 3 e-bikes before. Just wait till somebody, I mean, most people aren't going to ride from Bend all the way up to Sun River unless they have a class 3 e-bike. So,
Couple comments on that. I mean, and this is going way back in the annals of time. At one point or another, because it was Mills, we had the police chief, Chief Mills, actually came in, offered some opinions on, it was to ODOT on the pathway that they were proposing at the time. I'm presuming it's still ODOT that's doing the current one, right?
it has to be, I would think.
Yeah.
It's going under the highway.
Yeah. So, again, I don't know if it's not a necessity, but it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get not only, police opinion, but also fire opinion. Cause I don't even know what would result in terms of ambulance coverage if there's an accident on that bike path. Or how we would.
Thought about that side of it. I was worried about the e-bike, but yeah.
Yeah, but, might be worthwhile, if
Somebody throwing their lip, whatever, off their bike too could be a problem.
We'll be importing a lot of different things.
Yes. Well, and I brought it up because that was actually one of Chief Mills's, chief concerns about the, pun intended, about the pathway was, who would be on the pathway or who would be, patrolling it and or who's responding and or does that invite people to reside elsewhere in the forest? Or, I mean, I think there's
kinds of issues, and
there's a lot of things to.
most of them SROA, I mean, it's not coming to Sun River.
Good as good as though.
It's good as, but technically it's not, it's just going to Lava Butte.
Just made the connection.
I know that.
And there were some, there are some potential enforcement things that would come into, because there is an intention long-term for that path to extend all the way to Lapine. And there's been some questions as to how it would do that.
Without going through Sun River, which shouldn't be allowed.
I think that ODOT has some distinct opinions on that, I'm just gonna say. And so I guess it's to a couple of things. It primarily has fallen to SROA, or at least the owners board, to engage in that. If the owners board has any desire for the SSD, either as an organization or the SSD board to respond or weigh in, we need to know that. I'm not paying a whole bunch of attention to it. I don't know that.
It just came up on the radar and we haven't really addressed it as far as what how our response is gonna be, and we're not sure we have too much voice in some ways.
It would,
It's not going through Sun River
uh,
officially.
might be, it's, and actually, this is good. I'm delinquent. January is usually, or the first month of the quarter is when I'm supposed to have the meeting with the SROA president. I saw Bill and we acknowledged, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So, but that probably is a topic of discussion that I need to have with them.
Something we all need to be aware of, and that's why I brought it up. It's, I know we've all read the article about it, know about it, but
When is the public discussion period? Because they have to open it up for public discussion prior to approval.
I think we're already past it.
Yeah, they did open it up for
Already
public.
said, already said.
They did?
I remember, I provided some input on path proposals. And that's why I distinctly remember the path going all the way to Lapine at some point or
I
another.
remember them talking about, but they were
Because I remember-
not coming through Sun River. They were talking about staying by the tracks, I think, at that point.
But I remember providing some opinion on that. Just even if our opinion doesn't count much, we should still make sure that it's heard.
And I think it almost more affects the SSD than SROA. Ours is more of a nuisance, where you guys, it's fire and law enforcement.
Yeah.
Issues.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up. I mean, it is something that we probably need to pay a little more attention to.
That's all I got.
Any other questions for Director Schneider? Is there any other business to come in front of the board? I thought there was.
Did you want to ask about the email, Denny?
About what?
That email? The Senate bill?
No, not.
Right, any other business? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will entertain a vote. Director Stevens,
Yes?
Director Zook.
Yes.
Director Shoemaker.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion passes. We are adjourned.